Hello everyone, it's Mr. Spivey here. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to use Securely Classroom, the classroom management digital platform for managing Chromebook screens with students. Before we get started, just understand that in order to do the device management and monitor student screens, they need to be using a district assigned device. If it's a personally owned device, this platform does not interface with that. It has to be a district managed device. So to get started, what we're going to do is we want to go to securely.com/classroom, securely.com/classroom, or you can just type in Securely Classroom and then click on the link and it should take you to this screen. Once you're at this screen, what you want to do is you want to hover over Login, and then you want to pick on Device Console, Classroom Chrome Tools, MDM. You click on that. It's going to take you to a sign-in page. Before we move any further, I highly recommend that you go ahead and click on the star to bookmark it into your bookmarks bar so that you can easily access this again in the future. Once you do that, the sign in, you're going to click sign in with Google. I'm going to be using my school Google account because that is how the accounts are associated. And I'm going to click on my name and it's going to go ahead and log me right into the platform. Now, once I'm logged into that platform, it's going to take me to the top of my Google Classroom classes. So please know that this platform directly pulls your Google Classroom names. Students do not have to actually be physically signed into your Google Classroom. You don't have to be working on Google Classroom. They just have to be enrolled in that classroom in order for this to pick up their account. So I'm going to go through each of the items across the screen and then get into specific students. So if I go ahead on the top row on the right, there is a help tool. And if you go to the support, you can report an incident, or you can go ahead and, like, if you're having an issue with it, or you can look at the user guide. I highly recommend looking at the classroom users guide. Next to that is your login. You can log out right from there, or you can click on my account. When we click on my account, just know that the teacher tools at the top always takes you back to the main dashboard page. So teacher tools always takes you to the dashboard page. It's up here on the top. It's also on the left. Now here is going to be your username and password. You don't need to change any of that because it's single sign-on through Google. But underneath it for notifications, it says send an email notification on the following events. So class session summary, enable notification sound for chat and hand raise, play sound when student enters class. These are just specific class session preferences, and force chat window open. I'm going to click that one because when I send a message to the students, I want them to be able to see that message right away. I don't want them to have to click on the bubble to open it. When we look at the system, the class session summary, that's going to give you an email with the session summary, which will include who was in the session, what websites they were looking at. It's really a great way to have just a summary of what was going on in the classroom for that day. Okay, let's go back to the main menu. I'm going to save my settings and go back to the main menu. Now, on the left-hand side, if I click on the classes, this is going to take me to classes that I've actually created within Securely. We're not going to be creating classes because it's interfacing with Google Classroom. So the second tab, Google Classroom, is going to take you to all the Google Classrooms that you are a teacher in. And this will allow you to remove some of them if they're old, or hide some of them, or schedule sessions with them. If you go to the class session history, you're going to see all the classroom sessions, and you're going to see how long those sessions lasted for, who was in those sessions, as far as the number of students, the date, and the time that those sessions took place. If you click on any of them, it's going to take you right to a screen where you can look at the session details. And in the session details, it's going to tell you the sites that students had accessed during that session and for how long they were on each of those pages. So this is going to be very, very important when you're looking at specifically what site students were looking on and for how long. If they were supposed to be looking on Google Classroom, but Coventry Public Schools site, or let's say a gaming site, was having more time, you'll be able to notice that. You'll be able to see some summaries on the number of screens that you've locked, the number of announcements that you sent, and it's actually interactive. You can actually click to see the announcement. You can click to see the chats. If you look at the student sessions, the session students, this will tell you who is in that session. If I click on the name of the student, it's going to show me the sites that they went to. I can see that they went to these 2 sites, so I would not be too happy because 2D air hockey is not part of my classroom. So I can look at command history. These are the commands that I've done. So I've sent a screen lock, an announcement, and a release. I've saved screens and a chat history. So this is a really great way to have backup information in case you ever need it again. Announcements, I did make an announcement to the whole class, and then this is the chat that I had sent to that individual student. So let's go back to the teacher tools. The next one is web links under classes. If I look at web links, it's going to give me specific links that I can either prevent students from going to or only allow them to go to if I'm going to set a locked event in the classroom. So these are done by clicking create. We have a custom block list, which is where you can add specific websites that you want to block in your class only, and so on. So I'm going to go back to teacher tools. In the teacher tools, once again, what we want to do is we haven't actually started monitoring students yet. So if I want to start a class, I'm going to select the class from my list, and I actually want to pick my EdTech Demo distance learning class. And once I do that, I'm going to see a list of students in that class. Now, I don't want to bother poor Miss Jensen, so I'm actually going to, if I see these green check marks, that means those students are enrolled. I'm going to click to uncheck Miss Jensen because I don't want to have to see her classroom because she may be working in another section right now. So once I do that, I'm going to click Start Class. And once I click Start Class, it's going to tell me the time I'm starting and the date, how long the class will last for, and its approximate end time. I can change this end time if I want to, if the class ends at a different time. You'll also have a manual button that you can click to end the class. We have 2 check marks that are checked off by default. It's the enforce of custom and an enforce organization block lists. Leave those checked. Close all open tabs when class starts. This is a great feature if you have kids coming in the beginning of the day, they're kind of warming up, getting ready for class. However, really important here, if you are going to use this feature, please know that when you say start and it counts down 10 seconds, it will close all open tabs. That includes students who are accessing your class remotely. So that means that it will shut their Google Meet tab and they will need to sign back in. So just be aware of that. You can limit the number of tabs in your class to 5 max, down to 1, or have an unlimited number. Unlimited is the default, but if you go 2, then they can only have 2 specific tabs open during your class time. As a general rule, I do not select the last 3 boxes. I don't check them. Allow students to raise hand, allow students to initiate teacher chat, or play chat alert sound on the student device. I find in a class in person that these 3 could be distracting, so I do leave those unchecked. If I need them later, I can always go back and turn them on. In addition, if I'm 100% remote, I might use them, but that's usually just a teacher's choice. So I'm going to go ahead and click Start to initiate this class. And what you're going to see is immediately my test student screen pops up. This student screen did not pop at all because that student is not logged on to a device. And then on the right hand side, this student right here, I excluded them because I knew that they may not be in class today, so I didn't want to have them included in my class session. Now that we've started the class, you should see Stop Class on the top of the screen, the countdown for this class time, and then add 5 in case you need to add more time. You're going to see the tools for the whole class on the top of the screen, and we're going to go through those in a moment. And on the right, we're going to see the different kinds of views that you can look. One is called the screen view, and the other is called the tab view. Under instructor, the default is going to be the screen view. So you can see this screen. That's what a student is on right now. And if they were to go to a different tab, you would see that that changes in a second or two after they change the tab. And then you see a student who is not signed in on a device. And then you see a student who right here with the clear silhouette, the outline silhouette of a student that we did not select to start the class. So with that being said, what we're going to do now is look at the tools for the teacher. So at the top of the screen, you see Screen Lock. Screen Lock allows you to lock the screen on all devices for the class. You can modify the message for the Screen Lock, and then once you click Screen Lock, you will see on your screen there's a little lock on the student and it says your screen has been locked by your teacher. In addition to that, the student goes to open a new tab or goes to an already open tab, that message will pop up as well. In order to release the screen lock, you click the Release tab. It asks you to confirm. Click Yes. And now the screen gets released back to the student. Site Lock is a site that you can lock a student into. So if you click Site Lock and then say yes to all devices, you can either restrict students to a specific site or you can select from a list of sites. Once you're ready to lock them into a site or several sites, you can force close all the other tabs. Again, I recommend you use this with caution because if you have remote learners who are using Google Meet, it will close that tab as well. They'll have to sign back in. Allow the entire site. I leave that checked because I want to make sure that they can get through all those different sites. And then do not open tabs. If you click that, the students have to go to the tab, go to the site, and open it. Whereas if you leave it unchecked, it will open it for them. Once you click Site Lock, it locks them into whatever choice you've selected. You can filter these by clicking My Web Links Only, and you'll see there's 4. If I uncheck it, you'll see many more that are here. I'm going to go ahead and close this. There's Push URL. So similar to Site Lock, you can actually push a website without locking students into it. And what that does is it forces all managed devices to open that tab on their screen. Announce is an announcement for the whole class. So you might want to use this if your students are using earbuds or if you're teaching remotely that it's time to step away. You can say, a message like, sign out, we are taking a mask break. And once I click announce, that's going to pop up on my student screen over here on the left. It's on the student screen on their device as well. And there's a little button the students can click OK, and then they can sign out. The share screen is similar to push URL, more like Pear Deck though. So this is where you are sharing your screen and you're forcing students to be looking at what you're doing on your device. So you may have a broadcast up on the screen in your classroom, but if you're working with remote students, you can actually share your screen with them so that they're seeing exactly what you see and cannot interact other than watching. On the right-hand side, as I mentioned, we've got View, we've got the Screen View, and we've got the Tab View. The Screen View just gives you this little preview of what's happening on the student screen along with some tools. If I click the Tab View, you're going to see that I still have those tools, but now I see 4 tabs that are open on the student's device. One of the things that is important is that if they have more than 4 tabs open, you see more here. If you click more, it'll actually take you to the student screen. We're going to talk about this one in a moment, and you can see that there are actually 5 tabs open. Every time you go to a new location, if you want to get back to the dashboard, just click the teacher tools at the top, or you can click back. It takes me back to the tab view. I'm going to go ahead and click back into the window view. And in the window view, I'm going to see up at the top, there's this pin and it's green. That's because I've pinned that student to the top of the list. So if I have a few students who I know I'm going to need to keep an eye on, and let's say, like my name Spivey starts with S, so my screen is going to be lower in the alphabet, so it's not going to be right up top. I can scroll down to that student name, click that little thumbtack, It'll put it right on top, and that way I can monitor the students that I know need a little bit more attention. There's a speech bubble that will send a direct chat message to that student, and you can say, please close tabs that are not for this class, and send. And then once I send that, you'll see right here, that popped up right on the student's screen. Student can then reply back to that, and they can say, okay, will do. I know you can't see me typing that, but once I send that message, I get a little chime on my screen. I can see that the message popped up here, and I'll also notice that it is glowing this orange reddish color. If I click on it, it's going to show me that the student has responded. Next, we've got the history. So if I click on history, that's going to show me the history of what the student has been looking at on their screen. So I can see that this student has spent 16 minutes on Edpuzzle, which means, yeah, they're working in class. I can see that they were on Classroom for 34 seconds. That means they were trying to get to class. They've also been on YouTube for a while. Looks like they were searching for something that was blocked as well. I can also see that they've been in Drive. They've been in the Google Classroom in a different time, as well as gaming online. They did a Google search for gaming online. So it's interesting that I can see their history up here. If I go to command history, these are the information. This is the information rather that I sent to students. So I've done a screen lock, I've released them, and I've made a whole class announcement. Command history are commands for whole class. Save screens are screens that you can save from the student view in order to refer back to later if you need to. And then finally, there's chat history where you can see the teacher messages as well as the student responses. And this will continue to record as long as your class is in session. And you will have this to refer back to later. Now, if I want to go ahead and look at the student screen, I can go ahead and click right on their screen here, or I can click the eyeball, device view. So I'm going to click the device view, and it's going to take me into that screen that we saw previously, where you get a little bit larger view of their specific screen. But also underneath, you can see all their open tabs. So I know that there's no reason that they need to be looking at YouTube, and I don't know what Garena Free Fire is. So I would tell the student, please close tabs. If you don't, I'll close them for you. And then I would click the trash can. I always like to give a student a heads up that I'm going to be closing tabs in class that they aren't necessary. So I'm going to go ahead and also shut this securely one. And Edpuzzle's fine. Yep, this is the session we're doing because this is for PE. And then this is Google Drive. Those are all okay to have open. At the top of the screen, if I find that this specific student is not doing what they're told, or I need to get just that student's attention, I can click Screen Lock. And that will lock just that student's screen. And as you can see in a moment, that'll show up on the screen. The only thing that they can see other than that message is any chat messages that you sent to them. Push URL is just like the push URL from the whole class, but you can push it to a specific student's. Site lock, very similar to all class. It locks students into a site or multiple sites. Announce, very similar to the full class. It's an announcement just for that student. Chat, same thing, just for that student. History of the student. Save screen. So I really like this one because if a student was on a screen that is not a screen that you need them to be on, you can click on Save Screen. It takes a snapshot and you get that message that says screen successfully saved to the student's session details. Now, if I go back to history and I go to save screens, I can pull that up and there's that saved screen. So I can use this as evidence if I need it in the future. There's print. So what print means, it's going to print what's actively up here. So it's going to print the current screen the student is on, as well as open tabs. You see up here on the top of the screen is that little speech bubble. That is the chat bubble that you have applied. Students cannot close that bubble. They can only move it along on the screen. If they click on it, it will open any chats that were already provided or sent to them. Once you're completed looking through the student's page and you need to move on to another student, just go up to the top of the screen and you can click back, or you can click on the teacher tools. Once you're back in the teacher tools section, one of the things that's really important to know is that if you click on specific students and then click screen lock or select site lock or push URL, announce, or share screen. It will only send it to those students that have been selected. I apologize about not mentioning that sooner. If you're all finished with your class, you would just go ahead and click Stop Class. Fairly shortly after stopping that class, you'll get an email message that says that your summary is ready for review, and you can go ahead and take a look. Now that we've just finished that class, if it's later on, maybe it's the next day and I have a question I want to go back and review, I can click Classes. I can go to Class Session History. I can pick the session that I was in. This one was 25 minutes, so I'll pick that one. And I'm going to see the different places students have been, the individual students that were in there, and by clicking on the students, you get into their specific histories, command histories, their saved screens, their chat history. I can see any announcements that were made to the class, and I can look at any chats that were sent to individual students. I hope you find this product useful to you. And of course, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. Thanks.